Hi there, we're just waiting for everyone to join, so just give us a couple of seconds. We'll let everyone kind of get in, give us 2 or 3 minutes just to get started. We're looking forward to our webinar. Thanks. Hi, this is Bethany Beavis from CRE Tech. We're just going to give it a minute or two, let people log in. Thanks. All right, folks, I think we should get it started. Like I said, my name is Bethany Beavis. I'm from CRE Tech, and we're thrilled to have our partner here, Starry, on this webinar. So I'd like to introduce Rachel Walters, who will take it from here. Thanks. Wait, one little quick housekeeping thing. I started a chat. You can chat in there. We also have Q&A. You'll all be muted, so don't raise the hand. We're not going to use that feature today. So just any questions, just use the Q&A and the chat feature. So here's Rachel.
Big thank you to Michael Beckerman and the entire CRE Tech team. CRE Tech is great at bringing technology to the real estate industry and one of our favorites. If you're attending CRE Tech Chicago, please make sure to stop and say hi to the Starry team. Before we start, I want to introduce Katie and Rob, our webinar Starry experts. So Katie is the Vice President of Sales and Customer Service, and she will walk you through the Starry value prop for real estate. And that was not her waving. And Rob DeLuca is the Manager of Network Deployment and will walk you through Starry technology and the deployment process. So the webinar is Beat the Multifamily Amenity Race with Better High-Speed Internet. A little bit about Starry. Starry has raised over $163 million. We have around 300 employees, and our offices are in New York, Boston, Los Angeles, DC, and Denver. Our mission is to improve internet service and make people's lives better. To get into multifamily and amenities, we have a little poll for the audience. So NHMC partnered with Kingsley Associates and surveyed over 272,000 renters across the United States. Of the features listed, what are the top 2 items that renters would not lease an apartment without? The must-have.
Still got people responding, so I'll just give it a couple more seconds.
Okay, thanks. You guys, very smart. It actually, though, was number 1 was air conditioning, was second, very close behind, was high-speed internet access, which we thought is just really interesting already above soundproof walls, the dishwasher, washer, and dryer. So just to show a little bit of how important high-speed internet already is to renters and how that's going to increase in the following years. So what are we going to talk about today? Our agenda. So first, we're going to go over some of the trends that are affecting the multifamily industry. The industry is definitely changing, and we want to help you stay ahead of the curve as much as possible. Second, Katie is going to talk to you about partnering with Starry for all building phases. So how do you future-proof your property? How does Starry help you with that? How do you attract tenants? And what other values can Starry bring to your buildings? And then Rob is going to walk you through how our technology works, about our installation and how convenient it is for you. So the industry is changing, and Starry wants to help you stay ahead of the curve. What does that mean? We hear a lot about the amenity race, and I've seen quotes saying that amenities have become the weapon of choice on the front lines of luring renters to shinier, newer apartments for record rents, which is pretty strong sentiment. More than 900,000 new apartment units have delivered across the country in the past 3 years. With so much competition, how do you pick and choose amenities that will make your building stand out and even just keep your building competitive? We want to make sure that you're not forgetting high-speed internet as a valuable upgrade to your building and amenity for residents. Just in yesterday's BizNow, the importance of connectivity was brought up. When it comes to multifamily, whether baby boomer or millennial, top of market or affordable only renters, they all crave the same major amenity, connectivity, which Katie will also dive a little bit deeper into. There was a quote from Gable's residential COO saying, "Connectivity is really the main thing you need to be thinking about in the next generation of our products." This is what people care about. They moved in, and if they can't get high-speed internet and they can't get connectivity, it really doesn't matter what else you have in that building. So, when we're talking about the ROI of amenities, what amenities do you choose? What's the payoff? We're starting to see a lot of cases from residents, from other building owners about how important connectivity and high-speed, reliable internet is. Another thing that we're seeing in the market are the work-from-home amenities. So we see many developers and architects designing work-from-home space in buildings, but without high-speed, reliable internet, how can residents successfully work from home? So you need to start thinking about the internet infrastructure, the Wi-Fi, so that way you can hit this growing segment of people working from home. I think a little bit of a newer concept for people is digital equity planning, and that's at least what we call it in Boston. So it's a newer concept, but cities are starting to consider and plan for digital equity. So here in Boston, the PPDA broadband guidelines have a goal of enabling an environment of competition and choice that results in all residents having a choice of 2 or more wireline or fixed wireless high-speed internet providers. It's really important for cities to start considering, how do all residents have access to internet that makes their life better so they can work, they can stay competitive, and how can they afford it? And a lot of cities now are even looking at how many options do residents have. So now that we looked at why internet's needed, let's have Katie talk through Starry's value adds to buildings. Great, thank you, Rachel. So can you...
Just a little louder, Katie, you're unmuted, but just a little louder.
Can you hear me in this mic?
Yeah, I'm hearing you good, loud and clear.
On this mic?
Yep.
Okay, fabulous. All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Bethany, Starry Tech, and Rachel for taking us this far. And also thank you everybody who's joined us for learning a little bit more about Starry and talking a bit about partnering with Starry and bringing a high-speed internet service into your property. I think one of the first things to start out with when talking about our organization is that the way we approached what we're doing was that we looked at what exists in the marketplace right now, and speeds are table stakes for having a conversation about internet at this point in terms of bringing value and adding value to the marketplace. But what we really saw was that internet was actually, a very, we'll call it like a low delight place. It was a necessary evil. And so everything about Starry, everything that we're doing is about turning the experience of your internet provider from being a utility to being really like a consumer product. That's something that really just delights at every kind of inflection and every aspect of usage with us. So, if you want to pop to the next slide here. Oh, are we there? Is it? Oh, here we are. So one of the first questions that comes up when we're talking with our partners and the folks that we're engaging with in real estate is when does Starry come into a property? And now in Boston we're at hundreds of sites, so we've had experience at every single kind of part of the spectrum in terms of pre-development, lease up, and a stable asset. And we found that we provide significant value at every single step of the process in the building's life cycle. So, when we come in pre-development, we meet with the team and we work with them to develop the telco plan, future-proofing the building and bringing our folks. So Rob, who's here with us, and his team, those folks become involved in understanding the building plan and kind of supporting the thinking around what is going to need to be supplied in order to make the building's internet really competitive. And especially in Boston, where the market is incredibly competitive, there's quite an appetite for this. And one thing as kind of a side note on this is that, we have the advantage of we're working with and talking with, pretty much every property every large MDU in Boston. So our context that we're coming to also brings a lot of value as far as bringing market insight as to what other people are doing. So, and Rob will talk a bit more about what is the requirements for an actual installation are. And that's, certainly part of what we feel is the delight of working with Starry is that we make it easy. So, Rachel, if you'll move to the next slide here. Thank you. So the next stage, and this is one that's, we've been really robust with and had some fabulous, success stories with, is supporting the lease up and the sales process of a new building. So first of all, Starry is an amenity, is a standout. And for those of you who have not seen our router, the router in and of itself is a showpiece. People see the router and it already is, kind of draws attention. But then the fact that the functionality that you have a touch screen and there's a lot to play with there, and there's a lot of visibility in terms of it being kind of having a lot of wow factor. We'll see that, put that in leasing offices. We'll offer promotions with, leasing agents to accelerate and differentiate the building in terms of offerings for new tenants. And then we'll do things like events. Our events team is absolutely world-class, and they'll work with the property team to figure out what is the feel of the building, what is the building looking to do, and what's the kind of the the sense that of kind of what everything's about, and they'll collaborate and do custom events for attracting new tenants, and doing open houses and assist in raising awareness for the projects. And we've had in Boston some really nice success stories with a number of the newer properties that we've been involved in. So Rachel, if you'll click to the next slide. And then we have the stabilized asset, which is this is a great way to bring in a service that helps retain residents, and increase occupancy. We work with properties to do resident appreciation events. When we install in the building, it's incredibly easy, non-invasive. So it happens very quickly. So you're bringing a new product, something that's really exciting, into the property at no cost to the property, and then it just keeps the building in a competitive status in this amenity race that is kind of we're also aware of. So if you don't mind just clicking to the next slide. So one thing with, so now you see the router here, and this is more of an, so sort of points now to what the actual experience and what the product is. One thing that we've seen with Starry and our adoption in the marketplace is that we work for everyone. There's something about our product fits every demographic, every building type, and one example would be our partner Related, who we installed in all of their properties in Boston, and they have a diverse portfolio. They have the high-end luxury condominiums, they have market rate rentals with different types of focuses, and then they have workforce housing. And we've seen, just as that portfolio being a great example of Starry being able to really meet the needs and differentiate a wide spectrum of tenants and tenants' needs. We've really seen that like all the different aspects of what we're offering are met everywhere. So if you'll flip over, that would be great. So to start out here, so the luxury condos and apartments. So cord cutting used to be considered this thing that like college kids do. That was like a budget thing that was kind of like lived in this like very dedicated segment. This is no longer the case. So we've seen now in the luxury condos and apartments that, these high-end, like these people seeking high-end amenities, they want to curate their content. So you have the Apple TVs, you have all the streaming services, you can stream absolutely everything. So, so we've seen that that we've had incredible adoption in high-end buildings, which actually even surprised us. We have a beautiful touchscreen router that just matches in these kind of really incredible decors. And our customer service style is the buck stops here. It's absolutely white glove. If you touch, there's a touch key that you can hit on the router, and within 1 minute you receive a call from somebody local who will service anything about what's going on with your Starry internet, and that includes connected devices. Our Starry support team is trained to support all connected devices to the Starry internet connection. Now, for market rate, Rachel talked about the work from home. So that's one thing. Having an incredibly reliable, super fast, high-speed connection is absolutely everything for doing video conferencing. And we've seen that being able to provide that has been been widely and widely adopted. And also, and so in the reliability, the 5 nines is, certainly contributes to that. And keep in mind, all of these aspects of the Starry experience are for everyone. So regardless of demographic, it's just a matter of the fact that these elements actually play to what we've seen to be the needs of these demographics. And we've seen, there be a lot of leaning in for these particular aspects of what we're doing. And then you have the college area housing. So, high needs, high speeds to support working from home, like we were just talking about. But with that, there's also the international video calling. So we've seen for international resident populations, having a high speed connection is really what it's all about, because they tend to be streaming content in like native languages and content that's more that they're getting online. So that's highly valuable. And then also the importance of being able to have high quality video calling home to their homes. And then you have in a lot of cases, you have multiple, like roommates. So, having multiple devices, so doubling down on the number of devices that you have requiring high-speed connections, that is, something that we handle with grace and an ability based on the speeds that we're piping through. And then for the affordable and workforce housing, so everything that we're doing for the resident, it's $50 a month. So $50 a month includes the router. It includes, so there's no equipment fees in addition. There's no taxes, franchise fees, anything. It's a flat $50 for the service. There's no installation fee. And then there's no cancellation cost. So we are so confident, and we've seen that, if we hold our service standard as high as we do, people don't cancel. So we don't need to be holding people under contracts. But that, certainly being able to have a reliable $50 a month bill is, there's appeal for every segment. And one thing that actually is relevant to a conversation we had with a large property management company yesterday was about the fact that when you are in lease up and talking with prospective tenants, the idea of being able to offer $50 a month a reduction in utilities helps really position a competitive offering and offset the calculations people are making about which decisions they're going to be making about where they want to live. So Rachel, if you don't mind just flipping over to the next slide. So without any further ado, I will pass the mic over to Rob, who is our project manager and runs our deployment team here in Boston.
All right, great. Thank you, Katie. Is everyone able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can. We can hear you great.
All right, excellent. Thanks very much. As Katie mentioned, I'm a manager on our network deployment team here at Starry. So I work with basically any building on the residential side that we're going to be deploying our equipment at. So I'm going to focus on a high level how the Starry technology works, and I'm happy to dive into more detail during question and answer, if anybody wants to get into the nuts and bolts of exactly how it works. So next slide, please. Just to get started at a high level, Starry's building a network that you can think of similar to a cell network. We have beam sites that are our network hubs, and then at your building, we'll install a Starry point antenna that allows it to communicate with our network. The advantage here for Starry is that we can deploy quickly, and we don't have to dig up the street to run underground cabling to your building like traditional internet providers. Next slide, please. So here's kind of within the building how the technology works at a high level. As I mentioned on the roof, we're going to install a Starry point antenna. So that could be either wall mounted or on a non-penetrating kind of sled mount that will sit on the roof. We have some cabling that we run through the building, either fiber or Cat5, to connect down to our network equipment that goes in your telecom room, wherever you have your building's telecom equipment. And from there, we jump across to the existing building wiring. Whatever you have, running to each unit, we will use that existing infrastructure to bring internet to the units. And then the Starry station, which you saw in Katie's slides, is our proprietary router that we'll put in each unit to provide wireless internet to your residents. Next slide. So here are our requirements for installing at your building. I know we have some developers on the call where you're actively be building the MDU while we're probably engaged with you. So at a high level, some of the requirements are we need a pathway to the roof. whether it's a conduit through the roof, a pipe down the side of the building, some way to connect what's going on the roof with what's going in the basement or the telecom rooms. We need intact building wiring to deliver the internet to the residential units. That could be phone wire, Cat6, coax cable. Our technology allows us to use a lot of different types of cabling to deliver internet. And then space and power for our equipment. So we will be installing a network gear cabinet, not really different than any other internet provider. Just need to make sure that we have some wall space and a dedicated electric outlet to be able to power that. And a grounding location. So that could be a ground bar, a cold water pipe, building steel. Just because we're putting equipment on the roof, there is the risk of a lightning strike, and we want to make sure that that's provided, the proper safety requirements to make sure that it's not an issue. And then next slide, please. And I also wanted to spend a couple of minutes reviewing how Starry will work with you during the deployment, just to walk through the process so you'll know what to expect. In the early going, a Starry engineer will walk through your building and develop a system that's specific to the way your building is constructed. You'll have a Starry project manager that will review the plan with you, answer any questions, and also clarify any requirements on your end to make sure that we can have a seamless and efficient install. Once we've all agreed on the plan, we'll move forward to the installation phase. We have a Starry in-house construction team or certified partner that will come into your building and install the Starry equipment. Typically that takes between a couple of days and a couple of weeks, depending on the complexity and the size of your building. And then once that system is installed, we go through a period of testing and fine-tuning for a couple of weeks. This is mainly because we want to make sure that the system is reliable and fast, and we've got the speeds, as advertised before we go and invite any subscribers onto the system. And then once all those are complete and we've got the blessing of our quality assurance engineers, we're ready to launch in the building, and we can invite subscribers to schedule their own installations at their convenience. So that's it for me. Any questions? And I guess this is for all of the panelists here. Anything that you've all been dying to ask, now's the time.
I'm not seeing anything coming in on the questions. We got one from Robert Cooper. Can you really support high-speed internet over twisted pair in the building?
Yes, we can. So Starry has developed some proprietary technology that allows us to push up to 10 gigabit speeds over Cat3 phone wiring. So that's a differentiator between us and some other high-speed internet providers. We can actually use more different types of infrastructure than most of the traditional internet providers to push those high speeds to the units.
Thanks, Robert.
It's a great question.
We've got another one in from Stephen. What is the approximate cost per apartment to the owner/developer?
So
you're all muted, yeah, so you can all talk.
Okay, yeah, I mean, as long as there is existing infrastructure, meaning home run wiring to the units, Starry absorbs the cost of deploying internet technology in the building. So there's no out-of-pocket cost for developers. We come in, we absorb the cost of the equipment and the labor associated with the installation, so there's no cost to you.
So we will all be following up with you, and CRE Tech will be hosting this entire webinar on YouTube. So take a look on our social media, and I know Starry will be following up with all of you. So if there's no other questions, I guess we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Rachel and Robert and Katie, We really appreciate you guys getting on and talking to us about this.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.